You're listening to a special edition of We Get Work, recorded live from Workplace Horizons 2025 in New York City, Jackson Lewis's annual labor and employment law conference. Over 500 representatives from 260 companies gathered together to share valuable insights and best practices on workplace law issues impacting their business today. Here's your personal invitation to get the insights from the conference delivered directly to you. We'll see you in 2026. Welcome to Live from Workplace Horizons, our We Get Work podcast studio. Thank you, after a long conference, for joining us behind the mic this morning. And you both hosted the Financial Services Roundtable. So what I'm going to do is just ask you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your practice. We have Timothy Dominic, principal in the Long Island office of Jackson Lewis. Tim, can you share a little bit about yourself and your practice?
Sure. I've been with Jackson Lewis for over 13 years now. I am part of the litigation group. In addition to doing litigation from either a single plaintiff to complex class action litigation, I also do advice and counsel work, whether it be wage and hour or disability management, and I do a fair amount of workplace training as well.
Terrific. Tyler, you're in the Jacksonville office, also a principal. What's your practice like these days, and what are employers calling you to ask questions about?
Well, I'm the litigation manager for the Jacksonville office, so I see every case that comes through, and my practice is primarily wage and hour, class and collective actions, as well as single plaintiff discrimination cases, mostly involving race discrimination and disability discrimination.
So, as I said, you hosted the Financial Services Roundtable this morning. What did you spend the most time talking about this morning in the hour that you had? What were the issues that came up for the folks in the room?
Well, it was really threefold. The first thing that we spent a good bit of time talking about were workplace accommodations for disabilities. One of the things that came from that was really that, there are two things that are happening. A lot of times people will, once they're being written up, they will then claim in response to that they need some sort of accommodation, that maybe their stress or anxiety is through the roof because of those things. And that very well may be true. But the point is that the employer is then obligated, in spite of the discipline, to continue to engage in the interactive process with the employee to determine if there's any accommodations that can be made. The second thing we talked about were workplace investigations related to complaints. For the financial services industry, they really have a lot of compliance issues. And so they always have to be sure that they're fully investigating any type of complaint. It can't just be, sort of a cursory investigation. It has to be a full thing that they do. And so a lot of people talked about the challenges associated with that. And then the third thing we talked about was wage and hour, particularly the use of independent contractors and a thing called contingent workers, which is frequently used in financial services and probably other industries.
Terrific. Tim, as a roundtable, right, we asked for participation from our audience members. What issues really resonated and what did they share about what's going on in their businesses?
Sure. One of the topics that was addressed, and that was actually brought up directly by the attendees as opposed to us directly, was, Tyler mentioned accommodation issues, but it's quickly spun out to, well, how do we accommodate when it comes to mental health issues in the workplace? Because that's an ever-emerging topic that a lot of employers are dealing with more and more often now. And the interesting thing, and the thing I love about a roundtable, is it's an opportunity for the clients to start talking to each other. Hey, how are you handling this? How am I handling this? What would you do in this situation? So it was a really good discussion as far as how a number of employers in the workplace, in the financial services industry, are addressing those issues. Hey, we need to accommodate mental health issues. Is this something where we need to consider work from home? Is there other options? What else are we looking at here? And that was something that resonated, I think, a lot with the attendees.
A really stressful industry. So great exploratory conversation, I can imagine. Tyler, to Workplace Horizons every year, we come together, we sit across the table. What would you say are some of the most significant differences you've seen in the industry and how employers are dealing with industry issues since we were together last year?
Well, I mean, there is a significant change in financial services, and I think it's affecting a lot of industries, but the executive orders related to DEI, we didn't really touch on that in our discussion because prior to the conference, we had a pulse survey, and the number one thing that they wanted to talk about was accommodation. So we made sure to make time for that and to really push that in there. And I think that ever since COVID, accommodations, mental health, workplace disabilities have been at the forefront of employers' minds and how they deal with it, and that also ties into requests for remote work associated with that.
So employees are stressed. Employers are probably stressed. Tim, how is Jackson Lewis helping employers in the financial services industry deal with all of these issues?
We're stressed right along with them. No, in all seriousness, I mean, we're helping them on a day in, day out basis when it comes to these issues, right? Whether it be they're calling us up and having in the moment crises, advice and counsel. This is the emergency that just came across my desk. What do we do? What do you think? And those we deal with on a day in, day out basis. But then it's the proactive measures. It's educating the employers. Hey, this is what's coming down the pike. This just came out. This new executive order was passed. These are our initial thoughts. Let's talk about this further, and helping them develop strategies and policies and practices so they can navigate really an ever-changing workplace, which is probably different from the time that this podcast is being recorded.
Tyler, just one more quick question. There's a lot of different industries and sub-industries in the financial services sector, and they all have some similar issues and also some very different issues. How do you make sure that our lawyers at Jackson Lewis are up to date on all of the issues so they can best serve our clients' very unique needs?
Well, I think it's important that the firm spends a lot of time and resources dedicated to really bringing out the best in our attorneys by educating them. And one of the ways we do that is we have a lot of internal webinars and internal articles about all of the latest updates. I mean, it's sort of unbelievable to see behind the scenes in that way so that we can get out in front of these issues as soon as possible for clients, because timeliness is the key to everything with these.
Tim, Tyler, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you behind the podcast mic this morning in our studio, and I will see you at Workplace Horizons 2026.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Jackson Lewis's podcast, We Get Work. Focused solely on workplace issues, it is our job to help employers develop proactive strategies, strong policies, and business-oriented solutions to cultivate a workforce that is engaged and stable. Please tune into our next program, where we will continue to tell you not only what's legal, but what is effective. We Get Work is available to stream and subscribe on your streaming platform of choice, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. For more information on today's topic, our presenters, and other Jackson Lewis resources, visit jacksonlewis.com. As a reminder, this material is provided for informational purposes only. It is not intended to constitute legal advice, nor does it create a client-lawyer relationship between Jackson Lewis and any recipient.